Stream. Stream finished. I want the stream finished. I want the... How do I... Nope. Go back to there. Go back to there. So, people come in eventually, I guess. I don't know. Seriously. Just... Seriously. How do we... Go over there. Monkey, leave the cat alone. Monkey, leave the cat alone. Is that going? Is that doing the thing? I think... How do I get back to where I can see the stupid chat again? Dang it. I need to get to the studio, right? Go to the studio. Go to live streaming. Go there. That's where I need to go, right? Live streaming. Monkey, quit hunting the kitten. Come here. Stop it. Leave her alone. You're too big. That is not... Hey, what I'm looking for. I'm looking for... Oh my gosh. I can't figure out how I get my show to come back up so that I can read the comments again. All right, that's the previous videos. That is manage. Do I want to go to manage? Come on, manage. Ah, there we go. Ta-da! It says I'm not receiving enough data. Ernest, are you downloading crap again? Did that kill it or did the cat kill it? Internet sucks. Okay. Looks like, well, maybe I'm max headrooming. I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to part 2 of the show. I'm not sure if the internet shut off the show or if the cat did by stepping on the keyboard. But I'm here. So, if I didn't get to your questions, a million, billion, thousand apologies. Throw them in there again. I think first name, last name was last asking about the Volkswagen diesel issues and what happened. Basically, the United States has these particulate laws about like how many particulates parts per million can come out during the burning of fuel. And diesel produces more particulates than other fuels. It burns at a cold temperature, and so it has more hard carbons and sulfurs and things like that come out. And Volkswagen had bragged to the US government, like, hey, we have a new type of diesel engine in combination with emissions remedies and catalytic converters. We now produce fewer particulates than the diesel engines, so we should be allowed to sell our cars, our Porsches, our Volkswagens, our Porsches, our Audis in the US market, and you can test us. And this government's like, cool, send us some of your vehicles. So they send the vehicles over, they put in the emissions testing, and like, oh, it works. Congratulations, you can sell your cars in the United States. So all of a sudden, all these turbo diesels, which have been banned since the 80s, started being sold in the US, getting fantastic gas mileage and getting everyone all sorts of torque and everything else that they want out of their diesel engines. And then it came out in, what is it, 2016 or so, that they had done a weird thing where the car has this gadget that would suck up the particulates for exactly the period of time it was being tested. And then the minute the testing was over, just belch it all out again. So they were fudging the stats, juking the stats on their behalf to be able to sell their cars. So they ended up getting like a $20 billion fine for lying to everybody about their actual emissions. And then their cars became worthless. Those turbo diesels, couldn't find them anywhere. A lot of them got destroyed or traded into destroyed. And it's telling me there's excellent connection, but I'm in black and white. I don't know what the deal is and why I can't get decent internet anywhere in this friggin' country. Well, well, we'll be black and white Houston. That's what we got today. Okay. Again, any chat below first name, last names, question about the Volkswagen diesels, throw them in there again because they're gone. It's Liddy. Hello. Hello, it's Liddy. Javier Martinez is here. Dustin Height, lol, it crashed. Lol, it crashed. Phil Clayton, Houston. What happened, bud? Did you see the news on GMG regarding marketed unit offering? Yes, Graphene Manufacturing Group is doing a share offering with warrants where you buy, you can quote with the current price, like $1.27. You pay about $1.70. You get a share and a warrant for the future, which is good as a share. So they're raising capital. My guess is to start production. They got the factory pretty much done. Now it's time to build things, and that costs money. So it's a good sign. It's a short term for shareholders. It's probably gonna bring the price down a little bit, but long term, that's a good sign because they're now ready to start building stuff. That's the goal. They want to build those plug and play batteries. Jeff Crispin, Justice Thomas has raised his prices to keep up with inflation. Did you see the ProPublica article that came out yesterday? Essentially, the guy has taken like tens of millions of dollars in gifts and vacations from multitudes of billionaires, not just that Harlan Crow guy, but from all sorts of billionaires who have had cases before the Supreme Court. And he's explained, oh, it's just friends. Like, they're just good friends. They weren't your friends before you became a Supreme Court justice. So, conflict of interest much? I mean, Justice Kagan told her staff that they couldn't accept lox and bagels because she didn't want to report it, right? And here we have a dude taking $130,000 round-trip flights on a private 737 to go from D.C. to Connecticut to Yale to go see his own picture on a wall. Like, we've got, he's taking $500,000 a week voyages on private yachts, going to exclusive resorts around the world. What was it? 300 and something days of vacation paid for by these billionaires. Just insane. And then Kagan was told her staff they couldn't accept free bagels because she didn't want to report it. And this dude never reported a dime. This is criminal. I mean, I personally think that Justice Thomas should be put in handcuffs and charged for illegal gifts. Just accepting illegal gifts and being bribed. That's bribery. Charge him. Arrest him. Charge him. Make an example of him. Make it so that other justices in the future don't get away with this crap. No one should be above the law, especially the people who rule on what is a law. And there's evidence that he has changed his decisions based upon the gifts he got from these billionaires. He's flipped on things that he was previously against, and then a billionaire took him on vacation somewhere, and all of a sudden he votes for the billionaire's way in the court. Like, that's straight up corruption. That is, hang him in the town square type corruption. So get rid of him. Hey, welcome back, fat cat. Yeah, come say hi. Do you? Come on, say hi. That's all. The kitty parade's happening. There we go. There's the fat cat. Okay. All right. Everybody's partying. The orange cat's probably hanging out in the other room. She's decided that my clothing shelf is wonderful and just messes up all my nice, neatly folded clothes. All right, fat cat. You got to move out of the way, though, because I can't read if your butt's there. There we go. Javier Martinez, pienso que fu el gato. I know gato. I know que is like what? Pienso que fu el gato. I got something. What cat? Spanish to English. I think it was the cat. Ah! Yeah, it probably was the cat. Did we get a second intro? Oh, I never turned off the intro the first time. You're such a noble chunk. You know that? Oh, turn off the intro before I make a mistake. There we go. Okay. Phil Clayton, P.S. Happy birthday and thanks for the second intro and visit to the Eye of Africa. Just tonight. Hello. Phil Clayton, I'm after a quadruple intro. Bex. Okay, so watching you blue screen 404 file not found over a kitten was the highlight of the week. Then there was time. There was still time to beat that. And here we go. Okay. We're gonna kitten. I don't know where the kitten is, but I don't hear the jingle collar anywhere, so I think we might be safe. Phil Clayton, it's not like Houston to have issues with technology. Okay. Bex, kitten is overload or kitten on a power button. Kitten on a button, I think she may have stepped on something that just turned the show off. I don't know. Chris Taylor wants second chances. Like I said in Productions, Houston. Is the debt purchased by McCabe a positive thing? What does it mean for OG investors? You were allowed to talk about it. Fish wears a mattress, go Mariners. I think it's a positive thing. What it says to me is McCabe thinks that this land is worth a lot of money, and he's willing to get as much of it as he possibly can while he can. It also says to me that if Nextbridge fails as a company and goes bankrupt, that McCabe gets the assets in the end anyway. So it can be positive for, yeah, this oil's worth a lot of money, and it's positive for him in that if the board screws everything up, he gets it all anyway. So that's how I see it. Yeah, and in the agreement, he has to buy a bunch of Acme parent company shares as well, like 6 million shares. So he gets to have a lot more control than he did before. Snarl alert. Oi, Houston. Love the new kitty. And please tell us everything you know of Danielle Fong. All I know about Danielle Fong is that my brother says she is one of the smartest people he's ever met in his entire life. And that she is a super genius and really cool. That's all I know. She is a particle physicist. She's got a lab in San Francisco area. And I guess does rad stuff with it. She's working on some sort of... it's like a plasma engine or something, Cat, that she's working on. But yeah, so it's cool stuff. I don't know much else about her beyond that. But if she got the Gardner-Wade seal of approval, then she's all right in my book. SP's back. Woo! Iggy Lemon, Houston. Is the apprentice working on her cable management skills? Apparently. Max Headroom cosplay. Andrew Stewart, Houston. It wouldn't be a show without technical boondoggle. Yeah, I was granulated. Okay. How do you even get this filter? By having a roommate download terabytes of video games. Harry Schatz. Thoughts on the judge approving AMC conversion today? Hey, we'll see where it goes. Those of you who bought into Ape are probably going to get a bigger boost out of this than those who bought into AMC, especially when AMC was at $8 or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, the Ape folks, when it combines, I think we'll have more in the end than the folks that have at AMC, that's for sure. And then Adam Aaron will sell 200 million shares, pay off a boatload of debt for AMC, and hopefully make the company viable. My fear is that he'll do an Adam Aaron thing and he'll sell those 200 million shares directly to short hedge funds who will then control the board. So even though they pay off the debt, they'll just take out a boatload more debt, pay themselves huge bonuses, and then short the company down to nothing. That's the big fear I have with the Adam Aaron deal on this is that Adam Aaron likes to sell directly to short hedge funds, and then goes, "What? It was made sense," and then it doesn't make any sense. So, Adam Aaron, if you want to prove that you're not a complete tool, you will sell at the market, not directly to a bunch of short hedge fund douchebags. You will sell at the market to retail, and they can purchase the extra 200 million shares it will take to pay off the debt. And once you pay off all that debt, cool. You're making profit. Maybe. If the strike goes on too long and no movies are coming out, you're going to be hosed. But in the meantime, you might make some profit if you get in the strike soon. So studios and the strike, you idiots, and just pay writers and actors a decent wage so they don't have to live off of cat food and the charity of others and work 5 jobs. So Adam Aaron should say something about that. He should also go out and be like, hey, end the strike, pay the people who create these things something so that we can make movies. So do those 2 things. Sell to the market, tell the studios to end the strike, and give in. The Otang clan. Can't read. The Otang clan, that's Octa, and there's no C in there. The Otang clan. What happens in AMC next week, in your opinion? I think there'll be more parity in the shares. They'll get close to each other, and then they'll announce the date for the reverse split and merger, and that'll be that. Legacy in Productions, what is Forrest Gump's password? 1 Forrest 1. Daphne, I missed the first part of the show. That's okay. First part of the show, apparently I missed. I don't know how long I was in when it stopped doing a show and how long I talked. I don't know. But the first part is only 20 minutes long, so we can get right back into this thing. Iglumo and Justin Thomas is the most successful sugar baby in history. Somebody on Blue Sky, might have been Kevin Cruz or something, was joking about how these other billionaires finding out that they weren't the only billionaire who was sugaring Justice Thomas. And then people started riffing and talking about how, like an 80s sitcom, Justice Thomas applied himself to 2 different billionaires' vacations at the same time, and they're trying to hilariously jump between both vacations while the other billionaire know that they're cheating on them with another billionaire, and that Ginny and Thomas, why are you wearing scuba gear to our dinner? Kitty, don't you wish you had billionaires to take you on vacation all the time, huh? I mean, usually it's Instagram models showing their booties and stuff who get to do it and ride in the yachts. But it's all right. Oh, you want to go up there? Yeah, go up there. There you go. Butthole. Okay. A cat's only a foot tall, but its butthole is somehow always in your face. Dilliburn's Wharf, Finra halted Houston. PG, Big H, when do you think this credit bubble and REIT crashes will burst? Seems like everyone is just ignoring it. Charity decided for next week. I haven't decided on the specific charity yet. What I might do is I might get some of the local charities and send them as recommendations to YouTube to see which ones YouTube can pick up by then. And then I'd rather find a local charity for Hawaii than do a national one that sends stuff to Hawaii if I can. So I'll have to go through the YouTube charity list because we can only do charity shows for charities that have been listed on YouTube. So if you know of a good charity in Hawaii, tell them to get listed on YouTube, and we can do a fundraiser for him. And we can do that. But I can't just, it has to be something registered with YouTube for us to do the whole, you donate it, it goes straight to the charity thing that they have, that system. What was the other question? Oh, when do I think this credit bubble and REIT crashes? Well, I think it is crashing. The government and banks have created some interesting rules to try and soften the blow, meaning they're forcing these companies, these REITs, to renegotiate their contracts. And the thing is that you bought an office complex for like $400 million. You can't sell it. No one wants to buy it. So essentially it's worth nothing. It's at 20 to 40% vacancy. You're not making any money off this. You've got a balloon payment coming. You can't afford the interest. And so what you do is you call the bank, you're like, I don't want it anymore. Take it. We're just going to make it a write-off and take a huge write-off on our taxes for this real estate investment fund. And the bank's like, I don't want it. How about we make it, rather than a 10-year loan, make it a 30 or 100-year loan? We'll change the payment structure. We'll do all this stuff. And the REITs are like, I don't want the property. It's not worth anything. And the bank's like, I don't want the property. It's not worth anything. And so they're fighting now as to who's going to get stuck with this hot potato. The banks don't want it, because if the banks take it, they've got to sell it. And if they take it, that means they're taking everything else that's garbage right now, and they got to sell all that, which is going to drive the prices even lower than they are now. So that's why there's such a strong push for this return to the office thing, and trying to get folks back in the offices so that the leases get renewed. Because a lot of companies, especially these white collar companies, that have like software engineers and accountants and stuff, you can do this crap from anywhere. You can do it from a beach in Bali. Who cares? As long as you have internet. So why pay, $100,000 a month on your 3 floors in an office building? You're not going to do that. Save yourself millions of dollars a year just by having everyone work from home. So, and it's funny. There's a quote from the CEO of Delta asked about the return to office thing. And he's like, why? All those people that should be working in offices are on my planes right now. It's awesome. So, it's that combined with the folks, the Airbnbers, the speculators who bought a whole bunch of homes to Airbnb. We're talking some neighborhoods, like half the homes are Airbnb homes. They don't have customers anymore. And people aren't renting. They're not coming and renting those homes, and they can't make their mortgage payments. They were told, hey, if you Airbnb your place, you'll get $5,000-$10,000 a month off this unit, and they're making $1,000 to $3,000, and their mortgage is $4,000. And the stories coming out are like 2007, like, oh, we're just gonna try to hold out a little longer. You're screwed. You're losing $12,000 a year on this home you bought on spec, right? It's eating into your regular wages. Your savings are disappearing, and you have to put the house on the market anyway. Or you're going to find a long-term rental, and you're still not going to make what your mortgage is. And not because rental prices are dropping as all these Airbnbs become long-term rentals. And these Airbnb hosts become, landlords, and they don't want to be landlords. They want to sell, but they can't sell because no one can buy any homes because interest rates are so high. No one can get loans right now. And so they're going to try enter the rental market. The prices are all going to drop. Then we'll start seeing the ones freak out and then try to sell, short sale with the bank. And some of the banks will agree. Some of the banks will go, oh, we can't have this house sell. And they'll try to restructure their mortgages and do all sorts of weird things like they're doing with the REITs. But it won't work for a lot of them, because a lot of these banks are local banks, and these local banks are so heavily tied into commercial real estate and commercial loans, and all the bonds that the depositors' money is being used to purchase are worth nothing. It's all going to come down. And you're seeing what's happening in China. What's happening in China is a larger scale version of this. We've got what's the name of that new company that just declared they're going to default on $200 billion in bonds? The other big change real estate one, Sunny Happy Family Time or whatever. China's real estate collapse is bigger and faster than it would be in the U.S. And this is despite the fact China is printing cash like crazy, trying to stave off the collapse of the real estate market. But the real estate market is 30% of their economy and has completely just fallen through the floor. So, and the depositor's money isn't safe. They don't have a system like FDIC. If your bank goes under, all your depositors go under with it. So I don't know what China's point of printing all this money is if it's not to ensure depositors' deposits, because you don't want your money in a bank in China at this point. Take it out, run on the bank, put it in your mattress, because all their banks are going to go belly up since there's no insurance program for it. Yeah, so when's it all going to happen? I don't know when the straw that broke the camel's back will be, but we're seeing echoes of 2007 in all the articles that are coming out. You know, you can go back and look at 2007 and you'll see, here, we'll find one. In like December 2007, George Bush did this like housing act to try and like stave off foreclosures and stuff. And it just spun out of control from there. Bush housing, subprime 2007. Oh, that's 2008. President Bush signs H.R. 3648, the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act 2007. So here you go. Here is, click on that. Click there. Go to there. Done. President Bush signs H.R. 3648 Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007. So this is, what's the date on this? December 20th, 2007. President, thank you all for coming. Welcome to White House. I'm pleased to sign a bill that will help homeowners who are struggling with rising mortgage payments. The Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act 2007 will protect families from higher taxes when they refinance their homes. It will help the hardworking Americans take steps to avoid foreclosure during a period of uncertainty in the housing market. Yeah, it seemed to work, didn't it? Yeah. We are getting stuff like this pushed through right now. Exactly like this. We see the writing on the wall that the entire real estate market's going to collapse. And we have politicians who are just kind of like, oh, we'll just do this little, put our finger in the dike hole, and that will help. And then, you know, Lehman Brothers disappears 3 months later. Bear Stearns a few months after that. And then the entire economy is collapsed. So we're seeing echoes of 2007 happening right now with the way that the powers that be are talking about this stuff. So it's going to happen. You can't avoid it happening. It will happen. This is where we are. We are in 2007 right now. How far into 2007, 2008, like what's going to be our Lehman Brothers? Not entirely sure which one it will be, but something's going to blink out of existence here that's bigger than SVB or First Republic. Okay, I missed up a couple super chats. Just in my head, could we test sewer water for levels of specific drugs like they did to track what neighborhoods had more COVID? Could help target services. They can test, at least I know with prescription drugs, they can test that stuff. I wouldn't doubt they could test like meth in the water or something. Yeah, they could totally do that. Just in my head, were you the one that sent me the article about the twist flexi bar exercise? Someone did. I need that article back. I accidentally closed the window and don't have it. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they could test for that and see what neighborhoods need the most help. Jiga Shukla, in a 5-year time frame, do you think there will be more deflation than inflation? Yeah, I think things will deflate. Mainly because the economy is going to collapse. When the economy collapses, demand disappears. People aren't buying houses. They're not buying cars. They're not. Monkey, quit eyeballing the cat like that. They're not taking vacations. They're not buying consumer goods. Stuff's getting repossessed in you want to buy a secondhand Ferrari or a mansion for pennies, that'll be the time to do it, because people won't have cash on hand at these auctions to buy this stuff. So when things get seized by the marshals, FBI, creditors, you name it, they're going to go up for auction, and they're going to be so cheap. So those who do have like their cash in their mattress, they're the ones who are going to be able to get a lot of that stuff. Monkey, quit staring at the cat like you want to eat her. She's a tiny little sweetheart. You get up here. Come on. Get up there. Get up there and chill. She's just like doing the Kubrick stare at the cat the entire time, or as I call it, the Ben Shapiro stare. He does all his shows like this, like he's in a Kubrick movie. Okay. Legacy Productions. Thoughts on King Felix in Mariners Hall of Fame this week? Will he be Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, you think? Oh, that's a good question. Because Felix Hernandez, the year he won the Cy Young, everyone's like, why did he win the Cy Young? He didn't have that many wins. It's because the Mariners had no offense. And almost his entire career, the Mariners could not mount an offense during when he's pitching, the days he's pitching. Because you take your number one pitcher, you pitch them against the number one pitcher of the other team for your best chance to like beat that team. And the Mariners had no offense for like a friggin' decade. And so Felix Hernandez lost more 1-0 games than probably any baseball pitcher in history. It's crazy. He should have been a 250 game winner. His body kind of fell apart at the end, so he didn't quite have the longevity you expect out of most Hall of Fame pitchers. But when he was pitching, he was one of the best in the game. We can look at his stats here. But his fastball really fell off. My guess is that he got too skinny. Like when he was a fat boy, he did really, 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 really well. And he kept trying to get in shape every season. And the more in shape he got, the slower he got. And it's like being a fat boy, I think, helped him out a lot. 2012 is when he had his perfect game. But you can see innings pitch up there. And then it fell off in a hurry with injuries and age. He opted out in 2020 to not play. He got traded to somebody. The White Sox or Phillies or something. I can't remember who. Or signed with them as a free agent. Hey, monkey, leave the cat alone. And then just kind of retired after that. But he got 14 years in the big leagues. A lot of shutouts. A lot of complete games. For a pitcher of this era. But yeah, 2010 was his Cy Young year. 13 and 12. Everyone's like 13 and 12. But really, it was like 1-0 games. His ERA was only 2.27. Struck out 230. His WHIP was incredibly low at 1.57. Walks, hits per inning. League best home runs or inning. How many innings took home runs per 9 innings? He was dominant. He was super dominant. But the Mariners sucked ass. They were terrible. So his real big winning year was 2009, and the Mariners were still terrible. They just had no offense. They just could not mount any hits for him. Wish they had a run support number that would show like how much run support did you get per game and where it was for the league. But his fastball was 98, 99 when he came in the league, and it was like 91 at the end. So he went 1-8 in 2019, and his fastball is like 91. And the thing is, he's a changeup pitcher, so you want a 9 to 11 mile an hour difference between your fastball and changeup. And when you're throwing 99, you can throw an 89 mile an hour changeup, and people can't hit it. When you're throwing 91 and you throw an 89 mile an hour changeup, they hit home runs. So it was bad. He got too skinny, got too in shape. He should have stayed a fat boy. It's just adopt the troop of Batman-ness. Your power came from your gut, buddy, and just that hurrah came from it. So you should have just remained a fat boy that whole time. But will he be a Hall of Famer? No. Mariners Hall of Fame, yes. He had a perfect game, won the Cy Young, was dominant for years, but he was only 169, 136. He only won 169 games. To be a starting pitcher in the Hall of Fame, you need 250, somewhere in there. I mean, even Jimmy Moore might not make the Hall of Fame, even though he was, for a decade, like the winningest pitcher in baseball. This kid just wants to hang out so bad. Just investigate, buddy. Investigate everything. So, nah. Jimmy D, whisper. More bearish things into my ears, Papa. Regional banks are going to fail by the thousands. Monkey. A dog. Mario Valdez, diesel shouldn't be a concern. Maybe focus on the burning of derailed trains. Truth. Yeah, those particulates, I think, outnumber the particulates that diesel engines are spewing at the moment. And put catalytic converters on ships. Like if you're concerned about particulates, high sulfur diesel that's going into these ships or crisscrossing the ocean are literally cloud seeding and creating acid rain clouds. I can show you pictures of cloud seeding from transocean ships. Images. Here we go. So this is cargo ship traffic. This picture right here, cargo ship traffic. This is high sulfur particulates that come out, sulfur dioxide particulates that come out of ships crisscrossing the ocean. These aren't contrails from jets. This image is the smokestack from ships that are crossing the ocean, creating clouds of acid rain, because there's no catalytic converters to keep the particulates out, and there's no regulations as to what type of diesel fuel can be burned in these giant engines, and so they're producing just insane amounts of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere, creating clouds. And they think that's one of the reasons why stuff has been really, really warm in the oceans around Antarctica, is that you got these ships going, under the Cape, under Tierra del Fuego, and especially right now with the drought happening in Panama, forcing a bunch of ships that can't go through the canals. There's 154 ship delay right now in the Panama Canal because there's such little water that they can't get multiple ships through. It's like one at a time. So these ships are now having to opt to go around the Cape and around Tierra del Fuego, resulting in more cloud seeding happening in the southern hemisphere. And, the fact that we've got climate change happening is causing the Panama Canal to slow down, which is now causing more climate change to happen because of the nature of rerouting these routes. It's nuts. So yeah, put giant catalytic converters on these ships. There's actually a guy on Bainbridge who invented a catalytic converter for these ships, and he's been trying to get it passed in the U.S. to require any ship that comes to port has to have one on. Granted, to help the environment, and it'll make him money. But let's see what I can find. Bainbridge Island Man catalytic converter ships. No, not shops. Ships. Yeah. Here we go. So these guys, catalytic converter for boat motors. Giant clean tech startup developed catalytic converter for boat motors that promise to reduce emissions, increase power, and provide better fuel efficiency. And the works were started by Todd Hansen while he was studying chemistry at University of Washington, avid water skier. So they originally started with small boats, and now they got catalytic converters that can go into like giant ships. But you need customers to do it, and it costs money. I mean, it's going to cost several $1,000s to build one of these things. Yeah, we need to have boats, especially giant ships that belch out a whole bunch of plumes all at once, have their emissions monitored just like everyone else. But because international waters, blah, 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 you're going to have to make these things on a nation-by-nation basis. So if you want to be able to make a port of call in the United States, you're going to have to upgrade and have a ship with a catalytic converter. But I doubt anyone's going to pass that law because we're ineffectual losers. Get up there, fat cat. Shove in your butthole again. Butthole. Okay. Owen Saunders, hi pal. Waiting for the payday in BBBYQ, MMTLP, MAT, GME. Is getting so frustrating. Appreciate you. Again, we're in twiddle thumbs. We're here twiddling our thumbs day in, day out, waiting for the catalyst. And where's the catalyst going to come from? I'm not sure. Maybe the new winner of the lotto in Florida will take their $750 million and they'll buy, I don't know, $300 million in calls for GME and then drop $400 million on GME and watch the whole thing go. Maybe JP Morgan will lose so much depositors and have so much liabilities of hedge funds underneath them that they blink out of existence, cause the entire market to collapse and margin calls everywhere and hey, things go nuts. Maybe the real estate market just collapses in general, forcing the entire market to collapse. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be at this point. I honestly don't know. But we sit and we twiddle those thumbs. So hope you guys got good thumb twiddling strategy, because that's what we do. Shadowfire, photovoltaic, cool word. You want to explain what it means? It's getting loads electricity from photons. So photovoltaic cells are solar cells, and when light hits them, it converts that light into electricity and voltage. Photon, voltage, voltaic, photovoltaic. There you go. Owen Saunders, hi. Didn't you say Acme had to reach $1 by September? If they don't, what will happen? They get delisted. So they have till September 22nd, somewhere in there, to get their stock price above $1. So maybe forcing someone to buy 6 million shares will do that. I don't know. Reduce sugar daddy. Nobody is above the law unless it's Hunter, the big guy, Congress, insider trading, or anyone from summer 2020 that caused billions of damage, including the autonomous zones. Okay. Hunter convicted on tax fraud. So he got convicted on that. Congressional insider trading is legal. So it's not that it's against the law, it's that they made it legal for themselves. So what we need to do is make it illegal. 3, anyone from summer 2020 that caused billions in damage. Most of the damage in 2020, and people don't like hearing this, came from white supremacists. And they go, "Who dare you?" Check this out. You ready? Are you guys ready? Okay. I could just type. Oh, there we go. That's what we want. Bam. Okay, starting out. We have Trump security chief acknowledges role of white supremacist extremists in U.S. urban violence. This is having to do with the BLM protests that happened. Proud Boys, Patriot Front, Aryan Nation, Aryan Brotherhood. These groups went in and destroyed crap, pretending to be part of these movements, because what they really want is they want a race war. That's their entire goal, right? We have the security chief of the Trump White House saying, well, yeah, that happened. You have the FBI saying the same thing. We can go to the FBI, pointing out FBI white supremacist BLM 2020. Police knew far-right extremists were the threat at protests. There we go. FBI document sheds light on white supremacists having to do with their white supremacists behind majority of U.S. domestic terrorism. This is what's happening. We can go to the people who burned down the police station in Minneapolis and the auto zone. White supremacist Minneapolis auto zone. Minneapolis police reportedly identify viral umbrella man, member of Hell's Angels, and it's a white supremacist, right? There's a dude arrested at the BLM protests, and I think it was Nashville, tried to burn down the federal courthouse, who was a Nazi with swastika tattoos on him. And he was posing as somebody who was a member of Antifa when he was doing it. So a lot of the violence, not all the violence, but a lot of the violence and property destruction that happened was actually white supremacists doing it. And this is exactly why the folks who did January 6th are always like, it was Antifa pretending to be Trump voters. No, it wasn't, because that's what they do, right? The J6 guys are the ones who dress as Antifa and then pretend to do violence as Antifa. So they assume Antifa is going to dress as them and do the violence. But so far, everyone who's been arrested related to January 6th has been a Trump voter. So, like, there's a thing that sociopaths and criminals will do where they'll blame you for what they're doing, right? Like they assume the worst out of you because that's what they would do. So if they would do it, then obviously you would too. So yeah. So when you want to say that the people who cause all this damage in autonomous zones aren't facing prosecution, the Minneapolis police still have not arrested. They identified the guy who burned down the auto zone and the guys who burned down the police station as white supremacists, and they still haven't arrested them yet. So when you say that they haven't been caught or face legal retribution, you're right. They haven't arrested the white supremacists who did that. So, yeah. So there you go. The Boogaloo Boys who assassinated the police officers in Vegas, those dudes were right wing, and they did it during the BLM protests. So, you have a narrative that you're believing is true, and then if you look deeper, you discover, oh my gosh, everything that I assumed about this was wrong. That white supremacists were a large portion of the violent acts that happened. I mean, you go to Portland, right? Portland was infamous for their protests every night and everything. The violence that happened in Portland was specifically Proud Boys and Patriot Front going in to go smash heads. And those dudes didn't live in Portland. They lived outside of Portland in the suburbs, and they would come into the city and cause destruction. I mean, the cider riot, where Andy Ngo, the journalist, not a journalist at all, is on tape planning with the group as they're marching towards cider riot about who they're going to attack and whose heads they're going to cave in. And they're joking about it, like, ha, we're going to go cave in that guy's head. We're going to go beat the shit out of these people. And then they go into this place of business and start cracking skulls, right? They're on video planning it on their way there, and then they do it. They do the violence. And then who got blamed? Oh, the BLM protesters. No, it was the fucking Nazis. It's always the Nazis. That's what Nazis do. Andy Ngo is a Nazi. All the Patriot Front guys, Nazis. All the Proud Boys, Nazis. Remember a couple weeks ago in Portland when the Proud Boys were like, oh, we're going to go confront the Patriot Front because they're a bunch of Nazis and they keep bringing down our people associate us with Nazis. And they go and like unmask them. It turns out they're a bunch of Proud Boy members that were also members of the Patriot Front. So like they're just behind every Proud Boy is a disappointed mother. Okay. Boink. I lost my spot. It just... Where was that? Up. There it is. Okay. Dallas Morris. Hello, fellow Texas name. I'm wondering how much longer Acme has as well before delisting. A little more than a month, probably. Maui Valdez acquired about work today in Maui Local 126 elevator construction. I don't know if they will have a use for elevator work, but they will definitely need electricians. Oh, they'll need a bunch of contractors to get in there. My hope is that the people who had homes and businesses get to rebuild, and that it isn't one of those situations where, people their insurance doesn't pay out. They don't get disaster relief from the government. Everything gets sold at auction. All that land gets purchased by some giant corporate resort and just commercializes everything into just gentrified nonsense. Because the thing people liked about a little town like Lahaina was that it was quaint and it was old and it was unique and it was kind of blue collar and a little industrial and it was like a little port town. And those were the things that they liked about it. And I really hope that we don't screw this up so badly that it just becomes another like Disney resort on the water and we lose that quaint quintessentialness. I don't know if you've seen how after the war in Europe, after World War II, cities like Dresden got bombed into oblivion, and Warsaw and whatnot. And when after the war, a whole bunch of new buildings got built in their place, and a lot of the new buildings are kind of concrete brutalism, especially on the communist side. And in the last 30 years, the locals are like, you know what? We don't want this. We want the old city with traditional architecture. And so like a lot of Dresden, has been rebuilt recently to resemble. So this is what Dresden looked like after the firebombing. Absolutely, just none of that. You can't save any of that. It's done. Cleared out. Everything torn down, and bombed out. Absolutely, just obliterated. Gone. Nothing. So if we can get through to reconstruction. Okay, reconstruction, modern. These kind of mid-century modern, brutalist structures. Like, this is hideous, right? Like, oh. But today, they tore down all the stuff. They tore it all down. Gone. They rebuilt it, and after the war, used it, then they tore it down, and they rebuilt all this stuff. This is the last 30 years. It looks like old construction. It looks like old, but none of this was here 30 years ago. They rebuilt the entire city after they rebuilt the entire city. It's pretty crazy. So this was Dresden, and then they tore Dresden down and once more and rebuilt it like it was. So we have the power, we have the ability as a culture to reconstruct these places like they once were. It's just that we so often do it on the cheap. We don't make it super nice like it was. We just kind of go, oh, we'll just put up another Walmart here since we got space, and we'll put another, cookie cutter resort here. So I really hope that we don't do this to Lahaina, and that we do more of this for Lahaina. I guess we'll see. Ludwig Vladimir Dorner. Hey, Houston, is BBBYQ over? It's not tradable anymore here in Germany. I can't buy or sell anymore. Still holding. I don't really understand what's going on in Germany. Iggy sent me a bunch of stuff from German markets, and people are trying to trade it to transfer into IBKR. But it might take weeks to do. Yeah, I don't know why the Germans suddenly won't trade it, because everyone else in the world can still buy it. I don't know why specifically Germany won't. But no, it's not over. I mean, it's all the filings that keep coming out are suggesting there's a merger acquisition going on. But there's so much redacted and so much NDAs involved that we don't know specifically who it is, but we know it's somebody that Sixth Street is fronting for. And it appears ICANN and Cohen own a lot of the collateralized debt, if not all of it. And they're using Sixth Street as that front for it. But we sit. All done. I mean, if Ryan Cohen wasn't involved, he would say, I'm not involved. Like, I don't know what all these rumors are about. I have nothing to do with this. He would come out and say that. And that would not be manipulation of the stock or anything like that. But he hasn't said that. He said nothing. Nothing at all. And it looks like his pump and dump cases get thrown out because it will. Shadowfire, could there be islands around the North Pole? How do they know where land is or isn't when it's covered by sea ice? Well, we'll show you. Wing. Doing. Ugh, you're always opening the wrong window. Okay. There are islands up there. There just aren't small ones. So we know what the ocean is like because we've mapped it. My brother's former father-in-law was the captain of the submarine that first went under the ice up here. They've sonar mapped the entire thing. They've gone everywhere with their ships. They've mapped all this. Why? Because that's America. That's the Soviet Union. You want to be able to map this entire thing and know what's there because they're, your mortal enemies. Also, tons of oil and gas on the shelves out here to be exploited. So they're constantly looking along these continental shelves, and these continental shelves, especially off Alaska and what is now Russia, are huge. So the potentials for exploration are just gargantuan. So the ice isn't there permanently. The ice moves around, and now it's come to the point in the summertime you can get from Europe to the Pacific using the Northwest Passage, either along the Russian Straits or along Canada and Alaska. So that's how we know. We've mapped it all with sonar, and we've sent submarines down there for decades, and we know what's what. Whereas this side, it's not like this ice disappears because that's land under there and permafrost and whatnot. There's no ocean sloshing it around, moving it from one side to the other. So there you go. Shadowfire, how is Antarctica going to be colonized? Different rules to colonizing moon space. There's the Antarctic Treaty. And the Antarctic Treaty was the precursor to the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. So the Antarctic Treaty was 1959? Oh, I wrote about it in my thesis, and now I can't remember the exact date. Antarctic Treaty. 1959. Woo! December 1st, 1959. So much of how the Outer Space Treaty works is the same way that the... oops, that's the wrong one. I'm going to click that one. There we go. Is how the Antarctic Treaty works. They're built to kind of the same thing. That no one can lay claim to it. It can only be used for scientific research, not for resource extraction. So you can't set up like giant mines or oil companies there. You can't plant a flag and claim it for Russia or Spain or the US or whoever. But you can have research institutions there. Everyone who's there is essentially a diplomat, just like in the Outer Space Treaty, everyone goes to space as a diplomat. This is so that if crimes are committed in Antarctica, the country of origin is who deals with the legality of it. So remember a couple of years ago, you had the two Russian scientists who'd hate each other's guts, and the one scientist kept telling the other one how all his books were ending, and the guy getting told how his books were going to end, and just stabbed his compatriot. Well, they went back to Russia, and that guy faced criminal charges in Russia, not from international court or anything. It was ruled by Russia, and vice versa. Had like that Russian stabbed an American, he would still go back to Russia for charges. Now, that wouldn't mean the United States couldn't levy sanctions or something on Russia as a result. But if a crime's committed, the person who commits the crime is charged by the country of origin. And that's kind of how they treat Antarctica. So there's no colonization of Antarctica. There's only temporary scientific expeditions that go there. I don't, without millions of dollars of investment, it's really hard to stay there year round. So the South Pole Station, there are people that stay there year round, and they're literally cut off from the world for 6 months at a time. with no sunlight. A few years ago, there was a lady a scientist who developed breast cancer. And she needed treatment desperately. And they did a really, really rare midwinter flight into into South Pole Station, which is suicide. I mean, the chances of the pilots making it and landing and not dying were incredible, let alone just to get this woman and fly her out so she can get the cancer treatment she needed. If there is no emergency like that, you have the supplies you have for the next 6 months, and that is it. It is minus 100 degrees outside. It is wind blowing, howling, pitch black, misery. You have to have a really, really good book list and hopefully a lot of DVDs and video games or something, because you are in the dark and alone. Yeah, you have to like people you're with, because goodness, 6 months is a lot of time to have somebody keep telling you how your books are ending. Bex, happy birthday, by the way, and question. If you had a $943.26 vet bill, would you sell GME at a loss or BBYQ at a slim profit, like in the next week or so? Ooh. Rock in a hard place. Man, that's an expensive vet bill. That is about 4,000 shares in Bed Bath & Beyond. And what, 50 shares of about 50 shares of GME. What's the tax status in each one? My guess is BBYQ isn't long-term tax status yet. So if you sell the GME, you probably had it for years, and you're going to pay a little bit of taxes on it, but then you'll lose out when you buy back in. So selling at a loss of BBYQ, you might be able to avoid MOAS tax penalties when that happens. But you're Canadian, so I don't know exactly what long-term holdings is in Canada. I think GME is more stable right now, and I think Bed Bath & Beyond has a little ways further it can dip. So perhaps sell the BBYQ and buy back in when you can. You might be able to get the same number of shares cheaper later. Because I mean, it's down to 23 cents or so right now, when it was at 39, I think was the recent peak. So there's some room there. But then again, I think BBYQ has potential of exploding sooner than GME does at the moment. Man. Flip a coin, Bex. I don't envy. Phil Haynes, do anything about HNRC dividend when it will trade? I know nothing. Zip, zero, dip, doodle. Houston Nat Resort shares. Houston Nat Resources Corp. They're at 9 cents. I know nothing. I know nothing about them. They might have my name in them, but I know nothing beyond this little thing right here. Subsidiary is Cunningham Energy LLC. It's been as high as 70 cents in the last year. Recently got up 26 cents in March, and again up to 36 in April, and then it's been sitting around 9 cents for the last couple of months. I know not. Had been as high as $10. Yeah, 2019 was $10, and it barcoded between 10 and 5 for 2 years. Interesting. A lot of volatility. Look at this. This is a weird graph. Check out this graph. Like 10, 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Where did it go down to? Went down to 50 cents. Back up to 5. So that's somebody forgot a decimal point right there. Somebody forgot a decimal point on July 25th, 2019, and accidentally sold everything for 50 cents. Or 5 cents, sorry. 5 cents rather than $5. And they went, oh shit. And then somebody bought a whole bunch, and right back to $5 again. And then once the end of 2019 came around, things got weird. A roller coaster, and now flattening out into the nothingness. Beyond that, that's all I know about them. So can't help you there, Phil. Sorry. Lance Underwood, that will not happen. Selling shares into the open market. I know, but AA needs to sell these shares open market. Otherwise, they're going to eat him alive. You won't be able to do those like theater talks anymore. They're going to go for heads. Shadowfire, thanks for the book recommendations last time, Houston. Richard Rhodes did an amazing interview 2 months ago. Send it to me. I'd love to see it. Kelly Reed, happy birthday, Houston. Do you think MOAS will happen? Will it bring down the market while it crashes or a little afterwards? I mean, in 2021, the explanation from everyone was if they didn't take away the buy button and they allowed this thing to continue, it was going to domino effect, like every hedge fund in existence, the entire market would just evaporate overnight. So yeah, the power is there to eviscerate the market. But I think they've figured out right now a strategy of maintaining these stocks at fairly low levels. And we don't really have the capital at the moment to spur much FOMO price action because we've been sitting on our butts collecting unemployment and getting checks from the government and stuff like that. So we haven't really had the chance to like dump $1,000 on a Friday into these stocks to really cause like craziness to happen. So I think what will happen first is I think the market's going to collapse and cause these things to rocket as their collateralized as their collateral becomes worthless and they get margin called and liquidated. And that's what I think is likely to happen. And then when they get margin called liquidated, it'll go down further. But I think the market crash is going to be the catalyst for MOAS at this point, unless the Mega Millions winner in Florida decides to do it. I mean, at any moment, any of these billionaires could trigger MOAS, I think. They could find a stock that's completely shorted too much, dump way too much cash into options and buying shares, and trigger this entire thing. But they're not doing it. And I would hope that there's some billionaire out there who's like reckless enough to be like, yeah, let's just fucking do it. And they go ape. Literally and figuratively. Since 54, LK99 seems to be a dud, unfortunately. Does the search go on? Or why are so many people saying it's over? Professor Iwana being one. I would love for it to be real, but unlikely thoughts. I keep hearing people say it's a dud, and then I read articles where they got the same results that the Koreans got. So I don't... Like, how can you say it's a dud when this guy's like, yeah, we got the Meissner effect out of this material, and when we tested it, it had no resistance. So that doesn't seem to be a dud to me. I mean, I know people want to err on the side of like caution. I totally get it, but we've got multiple labs that have recreated it, multiple labs that have achieved the Meissner effect, and multiple labs that have shown that it has like no resistance at room temperatures. Low voltages because they're small little samples. I think a lot of the problem is that some of these labs went to recreate it and they just didn't do it. They weren't able to recreate it because they did something wrong in the process. They didn't mix things accordingly. I want to see more out of folks who've recreated it and less out of the folks who haven't been able to. Because if some folks have been able to recreate it, the ones that didn't recreate it did something wrong. Right? Like, this guy recreated it, how come you didn't? So I don't know. I do think that it's going to lead to a new course of study in the way these replacement minerals work in certain, or replacement elements work in certain minerals, I should say. So in this, they got lead apatite. They replaced the lead with copper in the baking process, and it creates these free electrons that makes it into a superconductor, theoretically. I think that's a new avenue we can go down. Furion's AMC Houston, are we ever going to get a break? Get a break, cuz? Fee? I don't know. Oh, get a cut. Oh, going to get cut a break. Ah, not cuz. Cut a break. I hope so. I mean, what else are we going to do? Twiddle our thumbs, wait for that break to happen. Shadowfire. Would you read this book, Hate Incorporated, Why Today's Media Makes Us Despise One Another? It's a 2009 nonfiction book by Matt Taibbi. 2019 nonfiction book by Matt Taibbi. I mean, I've read a lot of Matt Taibbi. The problem with Matt Taibbi is, I think for a long time he did what he believed. He worked in things he believed in. He researched stuff he believed in. His problem is that he got his career start in Moscow after the wall fell, and helped run a nightclub that was frequented by the mafia. And he and his business partner at the time, they admit to all sorts of heinous things that they did during that era. Now, when he came back to the U.S. and joined Rolling Stone, that was an issue. There was no headbutting between the U.S. and Russian governments at the time. But since U.S. and Russia became adversaries again, he's had to toe the Kremlin line. And my guess is because of compromat, bribery, other things that came out of the Kremlin since then. And he's basically had to do like a 180 on his entire belief structure as a result of being compromised by the Russians. I mean, he did exactly what Michael Tracy, Glenn Greenwald, these guys that were bastions of like unbiased journalism, and let's expose the bad actors, to all of a sudden you cannot get them to criticize Putin. You can't get them to say a single bad word about Putin ever. You say, hey, has Putin ever done anything you don't approve of? They will block you on the internet before they ever answer, because they cannot say anything bad about Putin. So, I mean, I would take everything Matt Taibbi writes with a grain of salt post 2014, and view it through the lens of the Kremlin paid him to write this way. So I'd read it. I would just take that grain of salt with it. Also, I'd buy it used. So Matt Taibbi doesn't get any money out of it. There you go. Okay. Daphne, going to a chorus line tonight. A little tit and ass. All right. Tim Saunders should make citywide go-kart tracks through all these empty buildings. I agree. Top Gear did a great one when the economy collapsed. They went to Spain, to this spec city that was built out in the desert, and they raced their Maserati Quattroporte Sport S, GTS Sport S, or S Sport, can't remember, through the empty office buildings, and it was pretty fun. I fully think that every ghost town should be made into amusement park of our liking. Daphne's going back to Spain in November. Fun. $100K Weeble says $75 for electronic transfer, $235 for transfer and ship. I don't know how they will do an electronic transfer when there aren't electronic shares, but 100K? I don't know. Fritz Flappy Ears. Houston, did you see the whole UFO hearing with David Grush and other USAF pilots? What is your opinion? Do you also see the U.S. Air Force and Navy footage? Are we being observed? I think there's things in the sky we can't explain. I think David Grush is full of shit. Namely because his entire testimony is, I was told this by someone else. It's all hearsay. He has no evidence he can bring. And the one thing that hurts my brain the most is that we have these alien cultures with technology far superior to our own who can cross the horrible vastness of space that wants to just annihilate and kill you. And whenever they get to Earth, they crash. I think Gersh said we have like 14 crash ships. That's a lot of ships to crash for something as technologically advanced as they are. Yeah. Is it possible aliens are here? Totally. Is David Gersh right? Probably not. I think he's full of shit. There might be one crash jet, not like 14. That's just insane. That's just dropping out of the sky because no one in that culture knows how to land. They're all drunk when they get here. I don't know, but yeah. 100K. Which one to pick? I would ask them how they're going to electronically transfer a stock that isn't electronic. That's what I would ask 100K. There's only paper shares available, so I don't know how they're going to electronically transfer things. So ask them, be like, how are you going to do that? And when they tell you they can't, be like, cool, give me the $75 one, then send me paper shares. Tim Saunders, did you guys know Ed Sheeran has a brother named Sheep? Sheep Sheeran. Trey Spider, hello. Just jumped on the stream. Did Mr. Wade cover AMC conversion? We did a little bit. More to read to come on that one. Now we just need dates. Give us a date, man. Daphne, I have a visa passport application appointment. That's why I have to go back. Says 54, Biden already talking about the Chinese economy not doing so hot. Let the finger point to begin. Exactly. We all know it's coming down. You just want to make sure that you're not the one taking the blame for it. That's the goal. That's the goal in the economy is when it's going well, you take credit. When it's going poorly, you blame that guy. That's why the SEC can't enforce their laws, because if they enforce their laws and make these guys close all of their positions, then they're going to get blamed for crashing the economy. They don't want to take the blame. They'll come in afterwards and do a post-mortem and be like, this was the root cause of these things. We're going to pass laws, make sure it doesn't happen in the future. That's exactly what they'll do. And then they won't enforce those laws, and they'll happen all over again. Lone Wolf, yo. Says 54, as you talked about BBYQ, are people saying it's over? It's not over. I don't know why people are saying it's over. Every single solitary filing that's getting put in the court has merger and acquisition in there somewhere. Every single one. A whole bunch of merger acquisition lawyers are in there. A whole bunch of merger acquisition consultants are in there. Like, every single solitary filing is related to merger and acquisition. So something is coming out of this. They're going to restructure, and something new is coming out of it. What it will be? Not a clue. Will shareholders still have shares? I think they will. Others are saying no. But the others are saying no also said that the restructuring wasn't happening, that they were basically doing Chapter 7 through Chapter 11, which is not at all how that works. So something weird's going to happen. We're just going to sit and see what it is. Chris Taylor tried several times checking the link, but it's not working. I think because only mods can send links, if not super chats. Can you hit me up? Can you send me a DM on Reddit with the link for the twisty arm jerk off machine thing? Rob Murphy. Start taking B6, B12 separate pills once a day, not a B complex. Some reason mine came back. Mine was so bad they made hard plastic mold of my arm that I had to Velcro in and then give it 2 months. Oh, for your tennis elbow? Oh man. Mine, like, I have this cream stuff that's for arthritis people. That's like a pain. It's got niacids in there. That works all right. Well, the problem is that every night I sleep and my arm goes in some weird position, and when I wake up, oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. So I need like my arm put in a cast when I sleep, I think, to make sure it doesn't bend in weird positions while I'm sleeping. And then throughout the day it gets better as long as I don't pick things up this way. I can pick things up this way. I can pick things up this way. I just can't pick things up with my arm in this angle. Which I just also discovered, I pour things from pitchers or milk jugs with my arm in that angle, and it's bad. Okay. All right, people having a conversation. Gonna scroll past that. Iggy Limon, Houston, can you talk about the voting requirements for BBBY and the time frame? Well, I mean, there's going to be some sort of vote that I think everyone will have to have votes in by September 1st. As to how the question and the vote will be worded, I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds like they want shareholders to approve something to do with restructuring by September 1st. So they have that ready for the hearing on the 11th or 12th. Now, the filings that came in from the shareholders who are pointing out that the unsecured bondholders also had short positions in the stock and should not be allowed to vote unless they close those short positions. That might get heard in the coming weeks. So there's a lot that's got to happen in like the next 2-3 weeks. And we're just kind of waiting. The 16th, I think, is the next date. There's a hearing. And then there's a big one on the 26th. So I don't know how they're going to get a vote out to everybody in those 4 days and ensure that they all vote after the 26th. But they may have to push some dates back if that's the case. There we go. All right. So that one. Past that one. Got past that. Got past there. Did that one. All right. Derek Horst, I'm behind chat, but I worked at VW, and some people made a ton of money on the VW diesel thing by buying them before the settlement and got huge money back from VW. That would have been a brilliant play. You got the cash on hand, you can buy a whole bunch of those things, get $16,000 a car. Not too shabby. Tim Saunders, what's your definition of a Nazi? Well, there's a lot of people who do Nazi things, don't call themselves Nazis. They're white nationalists, Christian nationalists, white supremacists, folks that believe in and fascism, authoritarianism. But yeah, there's quite a few in this country, and people are like, no, it's not true. There's a reason why for the last 20 years the FBI has been warning about local police departments getting absolutely just stalked with white supremacists. Confederates, Klansmen, Aryan Nation, Aryan Brotherhood, Proud Boys, Patriot Front, Christian Brotherhood. Like, there's a lot of different groups. The weird Norse dudes that wear their pagan symbols and stuff. Like, a lot of those guys are all white nationalists and white supremacists. There's a lot of them in this country. I mean, in 2016, 1 in 5 Trump voters said ending slavery was wrong. That's a significant chunk of the population to say, yeah, I'm okay with slavery, right? So that's 1 in 10 people in the United States think ending slavery was wrong. That's a lot of people. That's 33 million people minimum that think ending slavery was the wrong choice. So yeah, there's a lot of people who like big strong men to tell them what to do, and they will commit all sorts of crimes to ensure that big strong man can tell them what to do. First Purge, Houston. Some folks are claiming that shorts will have to cover all naked shares after the conversion of Ape AMC. Is this true? I mean, a lot of the shorts are covered now. Like, selling 200 million apes to Antara allowed them to put those up for loaning and make them identifiable for reg show purposes. So they got covered just by selling those to Antara alone. And it allowed them to close a lot of positions if they wanted to at 66 cents or lower. So yeah, a lot of them are doing okay in that front. Now, since then, there's probably a lot more shorting that's happened. But the enforcement of the whole QSIP change resulting in recall of shares hasn't been happening recently. And that we see a QSIP change and nothing's different. The brokers go, meh. The lenders go, meh. SEC completely has their blinders on. They don't see anything. So there may be some FOMO, some buying power that goes into it when they do the conversion. But my guess is so many shares are going to get sold to pay off this debt, and shorts will just short it even more at that time. Because imagine, let's say the price is right now $35 when they do the reverse split, right? $35. Now, they took it from 77 down to $3 at this point. So they've made $74 in that span if they short at 77. Now the price of the stock can go up to 35, which is, again, that'd be the equivalent of the stock being $770 at the time. And you're just going to short it right back down, especially since they're selling a boatload of shares and you know they're going to sell 200 million shares. You are going to just short the whole thing down. And you're going to take up a lot of the buying pressure that would happen for people who would buy at market for those shares if Adam Aaron Smart sell at market. And you're just going to short it down. That's a lot. You know, you can buy puts, and it's a lot further drop for puts. That's $3,000 a put probably in profit. So yeah, you're gonna take that and run with it. WB listener here, but I have to comment. So wrong on this issue. Countless videos show the exact opposite of what you're saying. You may be right on some things, but it's a small percentage of what happened. We're talking about the BLM protests, because I'm not wrong. There's a reason why police and the Proud Boys are never in the same place. That's because the police are members of the Proud Boys, right? You can see video footage of they put the curfews in in Portland, right? And the police approach the protesters and tear gas them and shoot them rubber bullets. The police go, the Proud Boys like, hey guys, you guys gotta go inside now. And the Proud Boys like, thanks, officer. Because they're like this. How they're treated are so different, right? The police during the BLM were not there to maintain order. The police were the counter-protesters because the people were protesting against the police. Now, if the police wanted to let people have their voice and whatnot, they wouldn't create a barrier, say, you're not going to cross this line, buddy, because that's not how protest marches work. That's how counter-protests by authoritarians work. What you would do is, if you cared, you would line the police along the sides of the route, but make sure no one smashed the Starbucks window, whatever, and then they would march by, and that would be it. The protest would be over. But the police wanted to bash hippie skulls. Why? Because they're the Proud Boys. They're the white supremacists. They're the dudes that are members of Patriot Front. They're the January 6th dudes. You know why so many police officers were arrested at January 6th? Because they believe in that stuff, right? So, yeah, I watched the videos. I watched the live stream. My friend lives right in the corner of where the Chaz was set up, right? Where the protests were happening in Seattle on, was it 13th and Pike? So she set up a webcam out of her window. And I would see the police would create a line, the protests go up to the line, and the police officer would attack somebody and everyone would go nuts. That's exactly what happened every single night. You know, a protester had an umbrella, right? Holding there with an umbrella. The cop would take the umbrella and hit him with a baton, and then the whole crowd would go nuts. It's right there in video footage. So, yeah, when I say white supremacists were behind it, it's because they were behind it. That's what they do. They stir shit up and then want to blame others. That's what the Kremlin does. False flag all the time. You know, they blew up the pipeline. The Americans blew up the pipeline. And then it comes out that Seymour Hersh did not do his homework. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a Russian saying called a waif. Is a waif left out in his underwear, and so the American official, the undisclosed American official Seymour Hersh was interviewing, claiming that the U.S. attacked the Nord Stream pipeline, used this phrase. This phrase has never been used in English in the history of the English language. Not one time has any English speaker anywhere in the UK, Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Nigeria, no English speaker of any kind ever used the phrase, a waif left outside in the rain. You translate that into into Russian, and you get 4 million hits on Google. Why? Because Seymour Hersh went to a Russian agent who claimed he worked for the American government and then rewrote whatever that Russian agent told him because he's a stupid patsy. That's how these false flags work. That's what they do. All across the board. We have surveillance footage from the Danish Navy of Russian ships over the Nord Stream pipeline at the time of the explosion. We have video footage from the Swedish ships that went down the Nord Stream pipeline, and we see the explosion happen from the inside. It's consistent with sending a pipe pig down there and blowing it up. We'll get the false flag stuff all the time. There was who's that dude? Kitty cat. The Proud Boys. Big Tiny, the Samoan Proud Boy, or Samoan Nazi as they call him. The dude is supposed to be in house arrest and on parole, also pending criminal trials for attacking people. And he's crossing state lines, coming to the protests in Seattle, specifically to attack people with other Proud Boys. Did the cops arrest him? No. Here he is. There he is in the Chaz attacking people. And charges ever get brought? No. He's at the protest lines in Portland, Seattle, attacking people. You ever get charged? No. Like this. That's what they do, man. Because they're like this. You're not gonna arrest your buddy. Okay. What's happening there? God the Son, Jesus Christ saves. Hi from Maui. I'm not prejudiced against your name. You can have your name be whatever it wants. As long as it's not a racial slur, I'm okay with it, basically. Yours truly. Hi, Houston. Is the new AMC settlement approval good for us, or do we get screwed again? I mean, approval has to happen for that to move forward because they have to sell shares. They have to get this reverse split done. Take the shares from 1 billion down to like 100 million, and then sell a couple 100 million shares to pay off their debt. They have to do that. They just have to. They have to sell and make money and pay off that debt. Otherwise, they're toast. What happens during the sale and after the sale, I'm not sure. If Adam Aaron does what he normally does, he's probably going to find a few short hedge funds to sell those 200 million shares to. Those few short hedge funds will buy those shares, change the board into a bunch of hedge funders, short the company out of existence, while piling on billions of dollars in loans again. That's to me, that's what we have to watch out for. Now, if Adam Aaron sells the market, there's a chance the hedge funds can't take over and do that. So we're going to see which side he goes for. But he has to sell shares regardless to pay off debt, because they gave themselves $1 billion in bonuses and salaries and stock options, all while the company was doing the worst it's ever done. And then they sold all that stuff because they didn't actually believe in the company. So that's one of the reasons why Ryan Cohen's constantly talking about, like, don't pay your executives. You want executives who buy into the company and believe in the company. And AMC does not have that in their executive boards. They just don't. They don't believe in the company. They just see it as like a great way to make quick buck, move on to the next company they're going to destroy. Oh, shoot. It's 4:30. I got to go. I apologize if I didn't get to your questions. I am 30 minutes or so behind the chat. I apologize also for the kitten of seemingly turning off the show by accident by stepping on my keyboard. We'll see you guys on Monday. Next week, it's supposed to get really, really hot. So it might be nighttime shows next week because it will just be inhuman in the office if it does get in the 90s like they're saying. Wednesday, I think definitely is going to be really hot. So be expecting some nighttime shows if you don't see me during the day, just because it's going to be just brutal out there. Yeah. Got anything to add, fat boy? Just stretch it out? Okay. Stretch that thigh. Oh, it's so strong. It's so strong. Yes. Oh, such a good fat boy. Okay. All right, everyone. Have a great night, great weekend, and I'll catch you later. I gotta click this thing. That one right there. Bam.